And welcome back. I'm Cynthia McFadden. We are indeed going to be taking your calls, but first I want to introduce you to my guest for the afternoon. He's a lawyer here in New York. His name is Mathew Rosenblum. He's a trial lawyer, a partner in his own firm, and specializes in criminal defense work. He also was involved in the Amy Fisher case, which has received national repute, co-counsel with Eric Nyberg there. It's a pleasure to welcome you back to Core TV.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Ready to go to the phone line?
I'm ready.
All right, let's take our first call. This one from New York. Vincent Wiggins is on the line. Hi.
Hi.
How are you today?
Okay, I'm very excited about what happened today, and I felt that one point that I've noticed so far in the last 2 days is that the third officer, at no time have I heard his name come up in any part of this trial with all these witnesses for the prosecution, and I'm beginning to wonder, why was this guy indicted? I haven't heard any witnesses.
Let us try to explain. You probably heard the openings, or part of the openings anyway, in which the prosecutors suggested this was a sort of a serial beating, as they call it, a sort of tag team beating. Their theory is that Officer Nevers began the beating, that Officer Budson continued the beating, and that finally Officer Lesnow concluded the beating by kicking Malice Green after he was already seriously injured and on the ground. That's the story, and we just haven't gotten to that part of the story yet, which is why we haven't heard about Officer Lesnow. And the other truth is, Matthew, that Officer Lesnow is accused of a much less serious crime. He's accused of assault. The other two are charged with murder.
Exactly, and a prosecutor has you either begin strong and end weak and then try to finish up on a high note, or you could begin with the smaller crimes and lead up. That's a question of strategy. I think that the strategy in this case employed so far is right, because I think the prosecutor's doing a pretty good job.
You know, sometimes it's also chronological as well, and one of the things that surprised us in this one is chronologically, if this is their theory, Officer Nevers would have been the first defendant we would have heard about, but because their strongest witnesses, they thought, were against Officer Budson, that is the emergency medical technician witnesses they thought were strongest. They started with the witnesses against Budson and then went back in time and told you about Nevers, and now they're going to go forward in time, and talk to you about, we'll get that in a minute.
Okay, well, you could borrow my pen.
I'm not going to write anything down for a second.
Okay.
And go forward in time and go to Lesnow.
Well, there could be 1,000,001 reasons why. Sometimes you have problems with witness scheduling. Maybe the EMS technician was going away on vacation and he could only testify on a certain day. Yeah. There are 1,000,001 reasons why you might do it. Chronologically seems a good way for you to present a case. You have to look at a case as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, like you're producing a movie for a jury to see, and the easier it is for them to understand your point of view, and the more you touch on your point of view and make it palatable for them, the easier it is for them to comprehend exactly what it is you're saying and to vote guilty or not guilty or whatever you want them to vote.
Matthew's going to stay with me. I'm going to get my pen off the floor. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with more of your phone calls. 212-557-1301 is our phone number. We'll be with you right after this.